So if you're like me and you've been caught up in the NFL bubble for the past 6 months or so, and you've completely missed everything that is going on in the NBA, don't worry, I'm here to catch you up to speed. In between all my draft research and coverage and all that there, I've been peeking in the NBA. I've been able to spend some late nights on League Pass, digging through advanced stats and all that fun shit. And I got just big headlines that all you really need to know to be caught up for the playoffs. Ready? Number one, the Boston Celtics are on pace to be not only great, but historically great. But nobody believes in it because they're currently on the Dallas Cowboys plan, which is, all right, we'll believe it when it happens in the postseason. This is one of those years that is not going to be looked at great historically until after they win the championship, but until that happens, no one's going to believe in it. They currently have a net rating of 11.6 that puts them ahead of the 2017 Kevin Durant Warriors and right behind the 72-10 1996 Chicago Bulls. They have an 8.5 game lead over everyone else in the Eastern Conference. They're the definitive one seed in the entire league. They just finished beating the dog shit out of the Golden State Warriors. We'll talk about the Warriors a little bit later. But the question that is always going to arise is, are they that good? And as a Celtics fan, I've always had this analogy. Being a Celtics fan is like raising a child that has a full scholarship to Harvard and is also addicted to crack. It's both sides. And right now is a long stretch of sobriety with graduation about 3 to 4 months away. We are now second semester of senior year. Your crackhead child is not done crack for months, and he's been sober. He's been killing all his classes, been calling every day, in good spirits, in good health, all the rest of the analogy, however deep you want to go with it. That's where we are, but in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, what if they relapse? Please don't relapse. You're almost there. Just stay the course. Because the Celtics are prone to crackhead behavior. This same team was down in the first half to the Detroit Pistons at home in the middle of their undefeated home streak. They're not nearly as three-point reliant as most of the NBA media would have you believe, but they're still pretty three-point reliant. A lot of that not being as reliant on the three-point shot is on the shoulders/knees of Kristaps Porzingis, who, as much as I love watching Porzingis play, let's face it, is not the most durable player in the world. Honestly, a lot of people don't have all the faith in the world of Joe Mazzulla. He's in the position of, all right, he has the best winning percentage of any coach that has played their first 100 games, like historically great. That's good on paper, but again, until he shows it in a big game, no one's going to believe in it. But where I will give Joe Mazzulla credit is, regardless of how this season ends, it has been clear to me just how raw of a deal he was dealt last year. Because I don't believe he became this much better of a coach over the course of a year. Experience, yeah. But the fact that he didn't have an actual coaching staff around him last year, I think is pretty damn important. I think the fact he didn't have an actual offseason to prepare to be the head guy as opposed to being in the second row bench of coaching and then thrusted into being the head coach within the manner of one cheating scandal, yeah, I think that did him a huge disservice. So now that we get to see what Mazzulla ball is really all about, we're seeing the results on the court. And the fact I've gone this long without talking about Jason Tatum, I deserve hats off and kudos for that. God damn it, I really do. The Jason Tatum conundrum is the way that most of NBA media and fan views him has always been confusing to me, but here's the new iteration of confusion. You cannot tell me that Jason Tatum cannot be one of the best players in the league because of his playoff failures, and we're really only talking one failure, which is the finals, and then also in the same breath tell me that players that haven't even won a single playoff series are better than he is. That's not how that works. The numbers are slightly down for him this year. Yeah, because we're integrating a 7'2" behemoth into the starting lineup that's averaging 20 points a game. Yeah, numbers gonna have to go down a little bit. Is that not what we say we want from our star players? Do we not ask our star players to sacrifice their numbers for the good of the team? And when they don't, we call them selfish and ball hogs. Well, the Celtics are by far the best team in the league right now. His numbers are a little bit down, and there's people saying Jason Tatum might not even be a first-team All-NBA guy, which is nonsense. He's the best player on the best team in the league. First-team All-NBA is supposed to be the floor of what happens with that player. At worst, you're a first-team All-NBA, and at best, you're MVP. I'm not even going to sit here and argue that he's the MVP because that'll just be blatant homerism, and quite frankly, I don't believe that. But still, the point still stands. So to summarize, the Boston Celtics are the best team in the league, but as far as championship level greatness, we're not going to know that until they win it all, unfortunately. That's the territory that the Celtics are in. It's if they don't win it all, they're going to be seen as frauds. There's no in between with them anymore. Quite honestly, there's no other team in the Eastern Conference we're talking about. The Bucks are in disarray. Even after they hired Doc, somehow a lot of their problems got worse. Dame Lillard isn't the same player he used to be. The Cleveland Cavaliers are currently the 3 seed, but no one really believes the Cleveland Cavaliers as good as they look on paper. The Knicks look like a Tom Thibodeau special. Jalen Brunson just hurt his knee. OG Anunoby has been out for a while. He just had a surgery. We'll see what happens when they all come back together and form like Voltron, because I think they're going to be a tough out for anybody, but, we'll see. Everyone else in the East are not even worth mentioning by name. All right, now for the Western Conference. This is where things get a little more fun. The top 3 teams for the Western Conference are all separated by half a game apiece. So in essence, they're all tied for the 1 seed. Those 3 teams are the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Denver Nuggets. We're going to do a quick breakdown on each. Oklahoma City Thunder, the main headline is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having a 31.2 point per game season on damn near 50-40-90 shooting. He is 55, 38, and 88%, which is ridiculously efficient. Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are about as good as you would ask for second and third options. The big problem with this team is, dear God, they are so small. It is inexcusable that they did not trade for a center or try to get a buyout center at the deadline. It's so crazy they didn't. They are second to last in rebound percentage, only ahead of the Wizards, who are the worst team in the league. And their 3 best players are all 25 and under with 0 playoff experience. Minnesota Timberwolves. The headline for them, Anthony Edwards is having a career year right now and is surrounded by a team with the best defensive rating in basketball. Big problem, offensively. What else? If Ant-Man has a rough shooting day or just an off night period or God forbid doesn't play, who else on that team scares you offensively? I feel like we've seen enough of Karl Anthony Towns so we can definitively say he's not that guy, right? Okay, cool. No one else on that team averages more than 14 points. The closest I think is Rudy Gobert with 13.4. So unless they're going to go out there and win rock fights like the 03 Pistons, if Ant-Man doesn't go out there and score 30 plus every single playoff game, it'll be a real short run for them. Then the third team, the Denver Nuggets, and of course the headline, they have the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic, the current frontrunner to win MVP, which will be his 3rd. He is averaging a very casual 26, 12, and 9, and somehow isn't top 20 in usage rate, even though I feel like he always has the ball, but he doesn't always keep the ball. It's weird. It's one of those you have to watch to really get what that means. And when Jamal Murray decides he wants to play like an all-star, they're unbeatable. Like, that's not a joke. Whenever he scores more than 24 points a game, they are 14-0 this season. Problem is, they've played more than 60 games, and he's only scored more than 24 points 14 times. Will that change in the playoffs? That kind of leads into my big problem. Are they in cruise control? And what does Gear 2 look like in the playoffs? Because I'm torn as I'm watching them sometimes. It's like, all right, are y'all just cruising through the regular season? Because I would hope that after winning 1 championship, you don't already feel like you've arrived enough to the point where you can just, all right, regular season, we're good. We don't got to worry about that. But let's say they are and they try to hit that second gear in the playoffs. God forbid that gear gets stuck or it just doesn't work. And now they're down 2-1 in the conference semis and they're trailing the middle of the 4th quarter. Dear God, now what? Now, they're still my favorite because when you have the best player in every single series, you should be the favorite. But it's really, 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 really hard to repeat. And right now, they don't look like a team that's on a crash course, non-stop tour de force tip-off till the end of the game every single night. But they weren't really that last year either, so I'm really torn on how I see the Nuggets. The team that's 2.5 games back from that 1 seed is the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Harden trade seemed to have been working out well because, Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in the league, and he figured it out. But as far as their playoff hopes, you're asking me to rely on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George's health, which never happens for that team, and Russell Westbrook and James Harden's playoff performances. Can't do it. Can't do it at all. And what would the NBA segment be if you don't talk about the Lakers and Warriors? If I told you before the season that Anthony Davis will play
58,
62 games so far for the Lakers, having arguably his best season as a Laker. LeBron James will be averaging 25, 8, and 7 in year 20, and they are currently the 9 seed. You would look at me like I had 3 heads, but that's what's happening right now. For the Warriors, who are currently the 10 seed, their struggles have been pretty well documented across all networks, so I don't really have to rehash them much. They look like they figured out the Jonathan Kuminga and Klay Thompson conundrum out. I think they finally settled on, okay, Kuminga has to be our second option. Klay's not second option point of his career anymore. He's been a little better recently. I do think the kick in the face that the Celtics just gave him might be the wake-up call they needed to be like, all right, it's time to lock in so we don't miss the play-in altogether. Because if you give me the Warriors in a play-in game type scenario, 1 game, win or go home, I'm still taking the team with Steph Curry on it, regardless of who's on the other side. And then we got Victor Wembanyama, who is 21 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, 3 blocks per game. And if he didn't put the fear of God in the oncoming scores every time he's even in sniffing distance of the paint, that number might be doubled. He is coming. Every single night, he is getting better and better and better. Victor Wembanyama is on the way. If the Spurs even halfway tried to put a team around him this offseason, they would be in playoff contention right now because he's good enough already to make them a playoff team if the rest of that roster wasn't dog shit. He's coming. Last point I want to make about the NBA season is Jordan Poole and the Wizards, because I'm just so sick of hearing this. At what point are we going to stop blaming Draymond Green for Jordan Poole no longer being a good basketball player? At what point is Jordan Poole going to be accountable for the fact that he is not a good basketball player anymore? How long are we going to keep on blaming, oh, well, Draymond punched the star out of him? That is a grown-ass man. Jordan Poole is a grown-up. If he can't handle 1 punch to the face almost 2 years later now, and it is still affecting him psychologically, either go to therapy or retire. One of the two. There's no reason this should still be affecting him this much later. I'm so sick of hearing it, bro. I'm sick of hearing it.